first contender tonight is Steve Rhodes. He's a financial controller from Halifax, and his specialist subject, the Royle Family, the sitcom, that is. Next, Magda Biran, a postgraduate student from London. She's answering questions on the 19th century Prime Minister, Lord Melbourne. Tim Footman is a freelance editor from London. His specialist subject, the Beach Boys. And Matt Layton is a student from Shropshire answering questions on post-war British general elections. Hello and welcome to Mastermind with me, John Humphrys. 4 contenders, as usual, are poised to seize their moment in the spotlight, where they will be tested on what they can remember about their specialist subject and what they might or might not know about the wider world in the general knowledge round. 2 minutes on one, 2.5 on the other. Simple, if you know the answers. Let's see if they do, and ask our first contender to join us, please. And your name is?
Steve Rhodes.
Your occupation?
Financial controller.
And your chosen subject?
The Royle Family.
The Royle Family in 2 minutes. Here we go. What is the name of the local pub in the Royle Family that's mentioned in most episodes of the series?
The Feathers.
Yep. Who dances to Mambo No. 5 with Jim while the pair strip the dining room wallpaper in preparation for baby David's christening celebration?
Twiggy.
Yep. What reason does Barbara give for not marrying Charlie Rogers when she reminisces about being at the cinema with him at the time of President Kennedy's death?
Bushy eyebrows.
Yes. Which character says, "No, I don't drink at all, me, just champagne at weddings, whiskey at New Year, sherry at Christmas and a bottle of stout"?
Nana.
Yes. Who plays David Sr. in the 2008 Christmas special, The New Sofa?
Tom Courtney.
Yep. Barbara insists that she and Jim should spend their 50th wedding anniversary abroad. Which seaside town do they end up in, along with Denise and Dave?
Prestatyn.
Yep. The family return home early from their holiday in Prestatyn because there is no television reception there, and they're without what crucial item?
Chip pan.
Chip pan. What is the name of Anthony's girlfriend, whom he intends to surprise with a romantic marriage proposal on New Year's Eve? His plans are spoiled because Joe can't keep the secret.
Saskia.
Yep. Who shares the main writing credits on Series 1 with Craig Cash and Carolyn Aherne?
Henry Norman.
No, Henry Normal. In the 2012 Christmas special, Jim wins £100 on a scratch card that Barbara finds down the back of the sofa. What replacement item does he secretly buy for Barbara with the winnings?
Wedding ring.
Yes, Jim is amused when Anthony announces that he's become the manager of a band that is a cross between Oasis and the Manics. What is the band called?
Exit.
Yes. At baby David's christening party, the Royals' neighbour Mary gets confused and says she's a school teacher. What's her actual job?
Dinner lady.
Yeah. What is the title of the one-off special first aired in October 2006, which details the events that lead up to Nana's death?
The Queen of Sheba.
Yep. In The Queen of Sheba, Jim is furious when Nana steals the batteries from the television remote control because it means he has to sit and watch which television programme?
Location, location, location.
Yes, in the 2010 Christmas special, Joe's Crackers, Anthony buys his parents a vacuum cleaner and a satellite television box for Christmas. Denise gives them a mini bar of Toblerone. And what else?
Pass.
I can tell you in that case, because we're out of time anyway, a fridge magnet.
Yeah.
Off her own fridge. Steve, that one pass, you have 13 points.
Thank you.
And our next contender, please. And your name is?
Magda Biran.
Your occupation?
I'm a postgraduate student.
And your chosen subject?
William Lamb, 2nd Viscount Melbourne.
In 2 minutes, starting now. William Lamb served as Prime Minister in 1834 and again from 1835 to 41. For which constituency was he elected Member of Parliament in January 1806?
Leominster.
Yes. What government post was Melbourne appointed to in George Canning's Tory-Whig coalition government of 1827?
He was Secretary of State for Ireland.
Yes. Melbourne and his younger brother Frederick lodged and studied with which academic in Glasgow in 1799 and 1800?
Dr. Miller.
Yes, Professor John Miller. Who wrote of Melbourne in the late 1830s that he alone inspires me with that feeling of great confidence and, I may say, security?
Queen Victoria.
Yes. What was the title of Melbourne's prize-winning oration when he was a student at Cambridge?
Progression of the
No, I'll save you. The progressive improvements of mankind. Which politician assumed the post of Foreign Secretary in 1830 and was instrumental in Melbourne himself becoming the Home Secretary?
Palmerston.
Yes. In 1836, Melbourne caused controversy when he appointed Dr. R.D. Hampden to what post at Oxford?
Regius Professor of Theology.
Divinity, yeah. What name was given to the dispute over the political allegiances of Queen Victoria's court that prompted Robert Peel to refuse the post of Prime Minister and allowed Melbourne to resume the office?
The bedchamber crisis.
Yes. Who had an indiscreet and scandalous affair with Melbourne's wife, Caroline? According to David Cecil, Melbourne remarked, both like the fear and interest they create.
Lord Byron.
Yes. What was the name of the Lambs family home in Hertfordshire, where Melbourne spent most of the 18 months before his death in November 1848?
Rocket Hall.
Yep. Who took the position of Secretary for War and Colonies in Melbourne's first cabinet and Chancellor of the Exchequer in his second?
Lord Brougham.
Thomas Spring Rice. What was the name of the private secretary whom Melbourne appointed to act as a go-between in talks with the radical leader Francis Place?
Tom Young.
Correct. Who led the rebellion against the rule of the Ottoman Empire in the 1830s that prompted a severe crisis within Melbourne's cabinet?
Mehmet Ali.
Yes. In 1828, Melbourne was rumoured to have had an affair with a married woman whose husband tried to both blackmail and take legal action against him. Who was she?
Lady Brandon.
That is correct. Your time is up. No passes, Magda. You have scored 12 points.
Thank you very much.
And our next contender, please. And your name is?
Tim Footman.
Your occupation?
Freelance editor.
And your chosen subject?
The Beach Boys.
The Beach Boys. Here we go. 2 minutes. What was the name of the father of the three Wilson brothers who appointed himself the band's first manager? He was sacked in April 1964.
Murray Wilson.
Yes. What name did the band adopt after they had performed as Carl and the Passions? They took it from the trademark woolen surfers shirts they like to wear.
The Pendletones.
Yes. Which producer and A&R executive who died in 1998 signed the Beach Boys to the Capitol record label in 1962?
Russ Regan.
No, Nicholas Vene. What is the title of the first Beach Boys single to top the Billboard charts? It did so in July '64.
I Get Around.
Yes, what was the original working title of Brian Wilson's project with the lyricist and arranger Van Dyke Parks that later became the unreleased Smile album?
Dumb Angel.
Yes. Which non-member of the group co-wrote many early Beach Boys songs with Brian Wilson, including In My Room and Lonely Sea?
Roger Christian.
Gary Usher. In 1987, Fat Boys and the Beach Boys had a UK #2 single with their rap version of what song?
Wipeout.
Yep. Which musician from the group Flame was recruited as the Beach Boys drummer while Dennis Wilson was unable to play after he had cut his hand badly in 1971?
Ricky Fattar.
Correct. At which folk music festival in Monterey did the Beach Boys perform in October 1970?
Pass.
What is the title of the chart-topping compilation of Beach Boys' greatest hits released by Capitol in 1974? It was followed the next year by a collection called Spirit of America.
Endless Summer.
Yes, according to Brian Wilson, the Beach Boys' seminal LP, Pet Sounds, was partly inspired by a Beatles album that had been released in December 1965. Which album?
Rubber Soul.
Yes. Which Beach Boys song has the opening lines, I've been in this town so long that back in the city I've been taken for, lost and gone and unknown for a long, long time?
Heroes and Villains.
Yep. Which British producer produced the Beach Boys' eponymous 1985 album? He was well known for his work with Culture Club.
Steve Levine.
Yep. For which 1988 film starring Tom Cruise did the Beach Boys record the song Kokomo?
Cocktail.
Yep. What was the name of the company that Murray Wilson formed in 1962 to publish and promote the music of the Beach Boys? He sold it very cheaply to A&M Records.
Sea of Tunes.
Sea of Tunes is correct. You had one pass. That folk music festival was the Big Sur Festival. You have scored, Tim, 12 points. And our final contender, please. And your name is?
Matt Layton.
Your occupation?
Student.
And your chosen subject?
Post-war general elections.
In 2 minutes, starting now, in the 2017 election campaign, Theresa May claimed the electorate had a choice between strong and stable leadership under the Conservatives or a coalition of what, led by Jeremy Corbyn?
Chaos.
Yeah. While John Prescott was campaigning in Rhyl before the 2001 election, he was hit by an object thrown by Craig Evans and responded by punching him. What was the object?
An egg.
Yep. Who was the Conservatives' campaign director in 2005?
Pass.
What term, derived from Shakespeare's Richard III, is commonly applied to the period of unrest before the 79 general election in which many public sector workers took industrial action?
Winter of discontent.
Yes. Who was elected as the MP for Tottenham for the first time at the 1987 general election?
Pass.
In his first radio broadcast of the 45 election campaign, Winston Churchill claimed that a socialist government would have to fall back on some form of what?
Gestapo.
Yes. At the October 74 election, Labour won a majority of how many seats over all other parties, including the Speaker?
4.
3. For which seat did Nigel Farage stand at the 2015 election? He was defeated by the Conservative candidate.
Planet South.
Yes, the 1979 election was held after the Labour government lost a vote of confidence by 1 vote. What was the name of the Labour MP for Batley who was too ill to travel to Westminster for the vote?
Sir Alfred Broughton.
Yes. In which year did the Liberal Democrats win 62 seats, the highest number for the party or its predecessors since 1923?
2005.
Yep, in 2017, which seat did Rosie Duffield become the first Labour politician to win when she defeated Julian Brazier by just 187 votes?
Canterbury.
Yes, in February 74, Edward Heath called an election in response to an announcement 3 days earlier that members of a union had voted for industrial action. Which union?
The National Union of Miners.
Yes. Who was the leader of the Labour Party at the 59 general election at which the Conservatives increased their majority to 100 seats?
Hugh Gateskill.
Yes, in 2015, for which constituency was Ian Murray re-elected as the MP? It was the only Scottish seat that Labour won at that election.
Edinburgh South.
Yes. What nickname is often applied to the Thursday, a week before the 87 general election, when an opinion poll indicated that the Conservatives' lead over Labour had declined sharply? The Tories eventually won, and Margaret Thatcher secured a third term.
Red Thursday.
It was Wobbly Thursday, but it could have been Red Thursday, couldn't it? You had 2 passes. Bernie Grant, the MP for Tottenham, he was the man. And Linton Crosby was the campaign director in 2005. He had a rather better election then than he did in the last one. Matt, you have a total of 11 points. Well, that was a very close round. Let's have a look at all the scores. In 4th place, 11 points, Matt. Joint 2nd place, 12 points apiece, Magda and Tim. 1st place, 13 points, Steve. So it's the general knowledge round now, and if there's a tie at the end of it, then the number of passes is taken into account, and the person with the fewer passes is the winner. And if they are tied on passes as well, there has to be a tie break. So let's get on with it and ask Matt, join us again, please. Yeah, you start out with 11 points with your knowledge of all those many elections. General knowledge now, 2.5 minutes for this round. So let's see how you do. Here we go. Which birds feature in the 2006 animated film comedy Happy Feet?
Penguins.
Yep, HCl is the chemical formula for which acid?
Hydrochloric acid.
Yes, what type of lager takes its name from the town in the Czech Republic where it was originally brewed?
Pilsner.
Yeah, under what name did Accrington-born Margaret Lake make psychic predictions on the National Lottery Show Live between 94 and 2000?
Mystic Meg.
Yes, Charles Mason and which other Englishman conducted a survey between 1763 and 67 to settle a boundary dispute between the proprietors of Pennsylvania and Maryland?
Pass.
Which former mayor of Florence took office as Italy's youngest prime minister in February 2014, aged only 39, but resigned in December 2016 after he lost a referendum on constitutional reform?
Pass.
In February 2017, who became the 10th Yorkshire County cricketer to be named as England Test captain?
Joe Root.
Yes, what square lies diagonally opposite Go on a standard Monopoly board?
Old Kent Road.
Free parking. The name of an extinct ancestor of the elephant has become byword for anything of extremely large size or importance. What is it?
Mammoth.
Yes. What breed of black and white collie is particularly renowned for its success at sheepdog trials, and it's famous for fixing sheep with its persistent stare?
Border Collie.
Yep. In April 1970, which of the Apollo missions had to be aborted after an explosion in the oxygen tank of the service module?
13.
Yes. The open area of Chester, known as the Rudy, is England's oldest example of what type of sporting arena?
Rugby.
Racecourse. In 2003, Dylan Mills won the Mercury Music Prize with his debut album, Boy in the Corner, when he was still a teenager. By what name is he better known?
Skepta.
Dizzy Rascal. The works of which American realist painter born in 1882 include Nighthawks, Drugstore and House by the Railroad?
Hopper.
Yeah. Sophia Myles plays Lady Penelope and Ben Kingsley plays the Hood in the 2004 film version of what television series?
Thunderbirds.
Yeah. Which author, who also writes as Douglas Reman, created the Royal Navy officer Richard Belipeau, who was killed in action against the French in 1815?
Pass.
What name is given to the legendary figure born a slave to whom a collection of Greek fables is attributed?
Aesop.
Yep. The name of which disease is derived from a military veterans organisation in the United States. At their convention in 1976, large numbers contracted the disease.
Pass.
Bach's 6 Concerti Grossi, composed between 1711 and 1720, are known by what name after the German nobleman to whom they're dedicated?
Bismarck.
The Brandenburg Concertos. You have 4 passes. Legionnaire's disease. Is that one that spread after 1976? Alexander Kent, the author who writes as Douglas Reman. Matteo Renzi was the mayor of Florence. Jeremiah Dixon was the other Englishman with Charles Mason who conducted that survey between 1763 and 1767. You've got a total now, Matt, of 22 points. And now Magda again, please. And you start out, Magda, with a score of 12. So, at the moment, 22 is the score to beat.
Okay.
Here we go, 2.5 minutes. Roger Daltrey and Pete Townsend are members of which rock band?
The Who.
Yep. What term that comes from the Latin for cutting is used for the 2 pairs of teeth found at the front of the upper and lower human jaw?
Incisor.
Yes. Which nationalist leader said in a speech in 1922, "Non-violence is the first article of my faith. It is also the last article of my creed"?
Gandhi.
Yes. What is the name of the professional American football team based in Dallas?
Cowboys.
Yes. What term for the parallel lines of latitude at about 23 degrees north and south of the equator comes from the Greek meaning turn or change?
Tropics.
Yep. Whose work as a hospital dispenser in a Red Cross hospital in Torquay during the First World War gave her knowledge about poisons that she put to use in her detective stories?
Agatha Christie.
Yep. The works of which 19th century French painter renowned for his peasant subjects include the Angelus and the Norman milkmaid at Gréville?
Monet.
Millet. The valleys of the rivers Elan and Clarwen near Rhyadr in East Wales have been dammed to provide water for which major English Midland city?
Birmingham.
Yes. Which Caribbean island has the capital Basse-Terre and is part of a federation with the neighbouring island of Nevis?
Antilles.
St Kitts. What is the name of the war poet killed in action a week before Armistice Day, 1918? His posthumously published poems had an introduction by his friend Siegfried Sassoon.
Wilfred Owen.
Yes. Cabot, a mild, smooth cream cheese rolled in oatmeal, originated in which country of the UK?
Scotland.
Yes. What is the 2-word motto of the Scout and Guide movement?
Be prepared.
Yep. The theme song from which James Bond film gave Nancy Sinatra a UK top 20 hit in 1967?
Goldfinger.
You Only Live Twice. Who played Anton Rogers' wife Hester in the television series Fresh Fields and its sequel French Fields?
Julia Mackenzie.
Yes. What's the common name of shrubs of the genus Morus? The species Alba or White is cultivated for raising silkworms and the black species for its juicy fruits.
Mulberry.
Yes. Which Hollywood actress, one of the leading sex symbols of the 1950s and 60s, was born Vera Jane Palmer in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania in 1933?
Gina Lollobrigida.
Jane Mansfield. What is the name of the legendary Irish warrior whose exploits are told in the ballads and stories of the Fenian cycle?
Dion McCool.
Finn McCool. Which honorary post did the composer Nicholas Lanier become the first holder of under Charles I in 1625? He held the position again under Charles II.
Master of the King's Music.
Yes. By what name, taken from a fairy story popularised by Perrault, was the notorious serial killer Henri Landru known?
Cinderella Killer.
No, Bluebeard.
Oh, of course.
No passes, Magda. You've scored 25 points. And now Tim again, please. And you start out, Tim, with 12 points as well. 25 is now the score to beat. Here we go. What dish of Middle Eastern origin is made from ground chickpeas and sesame oil flavoured with lemon and garlic?
Hummus.
Yep. What type of knitted woolen jacket is named after the cavalry officer who led the charge of the Light Brigade?
Cardigan.
Yep. Which American composer's orchestral works include the ballad Appalachian Spring for the dancer and choreographer Martha Graham?
Copeland.
Yes. Whose first major success as a football manager was to lead Porto to victory in the UEFA Cup in 2003 when they beat Celtic in the final?
Jose Mourinho.
Yes. Which Commonwealth country's record industry gives the ARIA Awards for achievements in popular music?
Australia.
Yes. The name of which cured meat is used to describe an actor who overacts or relies on stock mannerisms?
Ham.
Yep. In the 1939 film version of The Wizard of Oz, Margaret Hamilton plays both the unpleasant Miss Almira Gulch and which other character?
The Wicked Witch of the West.
Yes. What date, long associated with workers, did Pope Pius XII declare as the feast day of St. Joseph the Worker in 1955?
May the 1st.
Yes. Walmer Castle, near Deal in Kent, has been the official residence of the holder of which office since 1708?
Warden of the Cinque Ports.
Yes. The blue pigment ultramarine was originally obtained from which semi-precious stone?
Turquoise.
Lapis lazuli, a new species of gibbon whose discovery was reported in January 2017, has been named after a character from Star Wars. Which character?
Spock.
Luke Skywalker. What abbreviated term has come into popular use for a piece of software that performs a specific function, especially one that can be downloaded onto a mobile phone?
App.
Yep. In which Dickens novel, first published in 1850, does the title character meet the landlord, Mr. Micawber, while he's living in poverty in London?
David Copperfield.
Yes. In what town in Surrey was the television comedy series The Good Life set?
Surbiton.
Yes. During the Second World War, the echo sounding device known as ASDIC was used to locate which class of naval vessel?
Submarines.
Yes. Which self-proclaimed quiet man of British politics stood down as leader of the Conservative Party on October 2003 after he failed to win the backing of enough MPs in a vote of confidence?
Ian Duncan Smith.
Correct. Queen Victoria was buried with mementos of Prince Albert and her children and a lock of hair and photograph of a faithful Scottish retainer. What was his name?
John Brown.
Yes. Which American author, poet and civil rights activist wrote the autobiographical work I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings?
Maya Angelou.
Yes. A railway disaster that resulted in the death of 75 passengers and railway employees was caused by the collapse of a bridge in a gale in December 1879. Which bridge?
Tay Bridge.
Is correct. No passes, Tim. You have 29 points now. And finally, Steve again, please. And you start out with 13, but the score to beat has now rocketed up to 29. See if you can do that and get through to the semi-final. Here we go. In which borough of New York are Central Park, Broadway and the Empire State Building?
Brooklyn.
Manhattan. Which British tennis player, now a sports presenter, was beaten in the semi-final of the Wimbledon women's singles in 1977?
Sue Barker.
Yeah. Mayahana, meaning the great vehicle, and Theravada, or the way of the elders, are the main branches of which Eastern religion?
Hinduism.
Buddhism. What is the strong-flavoured blue cheese made from ewe's milk and ripened in limestone caves that takes its name from the town in southern France where it's produced?
Camembert.
Roquefort. What colour gives its name to the sea that is bordered on the west and north by China and on the east by the Korean Peninsula?
The Red Sea.
No, the Yellow Sea. The mazurka and the polonaise are folk dances from which country that are often incorporated into works of classical music?
Poland.
Yes. The name Vanessa was invented for the poem Cadenus and Vanessa, published in 1726. Who wrote it?
Keats.
Swift. The failure of which organs in the human body is commonly treated by dialysis or a transplant?
Kidneys.
Yes. Which American Defense Secretary once famously talked of known knowns, known unknowns, and unknown unknowns?
Caspar Weinberger.
Rumsfeld. Who played the vet Siegfried Fahnen in the television series All Creatures Great and Small?
Peter Davidson.
Robert Hardy. Cross River, Western Lowland, Eastern Lowland and Mountain are the four generally recognised races or subspecies of which of the great apes?
Gorilla.
Yeah. Which university gives its name to a style of trousers with very wide legs typically worn by students in the 1920s?
Oxford.
Yes. Which English-born actress was nominated for an Oscar in 1940 for her role as Catherine in Goodbye, Mr. Chips? It was her first major film part.
Pass.
What method of execution is named after the French physician who proposed its use as a humane way to administer the death penalty?
Guillotine.
Yep. Which writer and comedian wrote the novel Inconceivable, inspired by his and his partner's experiences of IVF? It was made into the film Maybe Baby, starring Hugh Laurie and Joely Richardson.
Pass.
Who duetted with the Earth, Wind and Fire vocalist Philip Bailey on the 1985 UK chart-topping single Easy Lover?
Phil Collins.
Yes. Which pre-1948 railway company painted the coaches of its express trains chocolate and cream and its locomotives Brunswick green?
Pass.
What term, coined in the 1960s, describes a very strongly accented form of Australian English?
Pass.
Well, I can tell you because we're out of time. It's strine. Yeah. And your other pass is the Great Western Railway had its coaches painted in chocolate, cream and green. Well, the locomotive painted in green. Ben Elton was the writer and comedian who wrote Inconceivable. And Greer Garson was the actress nominated in 1940 in Goodbye, Mr. Chips. It was the first major film part. Steve, you have a total of 20 points. So we have a very clear winner. Let's have a look at all the scores. In fourth place, 20 points, Steve. Third place, 22 points, Matt. Second place, 25 points, Magda. First place, 29 points, Tim. And that means, of course, that Tim is tonight's winner, and he goes through to the semi-finals. Congratulations to him. Commiserations to Magda, but with her score, 25 points, it's just possible that we shall see her again in the semi-final. If you would like to be a contender in the next series, do go to our website, bbc.co.uk/mastermind, and you can follow us on Twitter @mastermindquiz. And do join us again next time for more Masterminds. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.